Gentleman from Adams, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, gentleman.
Gentlemen, do you know when the last time there was any economic development west of I-55 and north of I-20 in the state of Mississippi? Would you be surprised if I told you it's been 30 years? You wouldn't, would you?
That's not in this bill, gentlemen.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I have amendments at the proper time.
All right. Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hines.
He asked my question.
Right. I don't see any further questions. I'll recognize the gentleman from Adams for his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have 4.
You recognize for Amendment 1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll try to be brief. As you all know, I've said on numerous occasions that we're only as strong as our weakest link, and that I also have said on numerous occasions that economic development is purposeful. You decide what you want to do, and you pay attention to what you think that where the most needs are. I think that our focus on what's convenient, where you do economic development in the populated counties, the counties that are already rich, that already have a great tax base, I think you are not doing the tough job. And the idea that north of I-20 and west of I-55, there has not been an economic development project in more than 30 years. I think the last time was Baxter Chemical in the Delta. And so what I would suggest to you is that what I'm offering are conditional amendments. There is no money in them. As you know, the governor has, to his credit, has authorized a site development program, because one of the things that the governor says, and even this legislature says, that if you really want to do economic development, you need to be prepared to do it. You need to have industrial parks. You need to have sites available for people to do that. Well, that's kind of difficult in counties that are already poor, high poverty areas that don't have a tax base, that don't have the resources to do their own site development. And one of the requirements that the Department of, that the MDA has and the governor's office has for site development is that you have to have a certain amount of matching money. They also don't have that. And so what I would offer, my first amendment, is offered because last year around January, the question was put to the governor when he was boasting about the economic development program. What do you say about the complaint that some Democrats and some people have about the fact there's been no economic development in the Delta? And he said essentially, let me quote him exactly. He said that we express our pleasure or displeasure through our votes, suggesting that the state legislature had no interest in doing any economic development in the Delta and in those areas that really needed the economic development. So if that's the governor's assertion, I would suggest to him that we want to offer amendments to show that the legislature really does have concern about areas that really need that support. My first amendment would say, as a condition of receiving the funds appropriated by this act, the Mississippi Development Authority shall not require an eligible entity under the Mississippi Site Development Grant Program that is located in one of the counties with the highest poverty level in America, according to the most recent census data, to provide matching funds in an amount more than 5% in order to receive assistance under the program. I don't know if you all know this, but in the top 50 poorest counties, 12 of them are in the state of Mississippi. In the top 10 poorest counties, 4 of them are in the state of Mississippi. The top 4, Issaquah, Bolivar, Holmes, and Washington counties. But the 13, Sharkey, Humphrey, Claiborne, Sunflower, Wilkinson, Quitman, Tallahatchie, Yazoo, and Jefferson counties. Now, not only are these poor counties, the majority of them in the Delta, the other 2 or 3 are in southwest Mississippi. They all are along the river, and they all are majority black. I don't think the state of Mississippi ought to be in the business of saying, too bad, we're not going to create any jobs over there. So all we're asking, not for any money, is that we relax the requirements that they do to spend this. I think it's more than $117, $120 million that they have for site development. Not asking anybody to give us anything. All we're asking is that you provide the same funds you provide in other counties. There were 3 counties in the center part of the state of Mississippi, not large counties, not rich counties, but they're majority white counties that got more site development money than the entire Delta last year. 3 got more than the entire Delta. And all I'm suggesting to you is that we can do better, and that if we really want to do something good for the state of Mississippi, if we want to change the culture and the atmosphere or the perception that people have about the state of Mississippi, then we help the least of ours do a better job, and they can do that with an agency that has over a $300 million budget. So that's my first amendment, and I would ask that the House support this amendment as a conditional amendment for the Mississippi Development Authority. That's my amendment, Mr. Speaker.
All right. I don't see any questions. I recognize the chairman to respond.
The gentleman caught me off guard when he asked me, was I aware of any economic development, I believe it was north of 20?
North of 20,
west of 55. When I came here in 2016, one of the very first bills I voted for was Continental Tire. Yeah. And they seem to be doing pretty strong, so I do know of one that I was required to vote on. But I would ask the House, this is final action on this bill. This is something that the Senate and I have been working on now. Senate appropriation and the House appropriators have been working on now for about 6 weeks. And we have reached this number. We want to keep it there. I would kindly ask that you oppose the gentleman's amendment and not vote not in favor of it. And let's keep this clean, and let's pass this bill, and let's get, I'm ready to go home and get this over with. So I'd ask you to vote no on the amendment.
Recognize the gentleman to close.
Yes, thank you. I knew you were going to say Continental Tire, but Continental Tire is south of I-20. I'm talking north of I-20 and west of I-55. It's in Hinds County. We made it a mile west so that the only school district in this county, the smallest school district, was able to take advantage of $145 million because of the 16th section land, leaving out Jackson Public Schools and Hinds County Public Schools. That's how we do economic development. We're selective. We keep it in a certain population in certain areas. So no, Continental Tire doesn't qualify in terms of my assessment of where we do economic development, but I appreciate the gentleman's. I was glad that they did something in Hinds County. It took a while to do that, but I appreciate that. But I'll yield for questions briefly. There are no questions. Thank you. I move for final passage of the amendment.
All right. Question occurs on the adoption of Amendment 1. If you favor the gentleman's amendment, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. Noes have it. The noes have it. Roll call is demanded. There is sufficient number. Open machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the amendment, vote aye. If you oppose the amendment, nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 40 yeas, 78 nays, the amendment fails. Next amendment, gentlemen.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Amendment number 2. In the same vein, this may be a little bit more palatable. I started with the hardest one first. As a condition of receiving the funds appropriated by this act, the Mississippi Development Authority shall not make any additional grants under the Mississippi Site Development Grant Program after July 1st, 2025 until eligible entities located at least 10 of the counties with, no, that's the same one. It's as a condition of receiving the funds appropriated by this act, the Mississippi Development Authority shall not require an eligible entity under the Mississippi Site Development Grant Program that is located in a county with a school district that is rated D or F to provide matching funds in an amount of more than $1 in order to receive the assistance under this program. Now, the idea behind this particular amendment is that, look, if you got a D or F school district, people like to blame the school district, blame the community, but everybody knows that the counties with the highest tax base, the highest ad valorem, always have the best schools. And so if you have a D or F school district, it's probably because you don't have any jobs, there's a high unemployment rate, there's no tax base, there are no businesses, no industry that runs that county. And so if the Mississippi Development Authority is looking at a county that has a D or F school, and they look at it and say, you know how we can make this better, you know how they can have better schools, let's try to create some jobs there, let's move some industry there. And so that's what this amendment does. It's listed as number 3. That would be now my number 2, if I may. Let Madam Clerk. Thank you. And that's what that amendment does. That's all it does, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the chairman to respond.
Sorry.
Well, again, I come to you, the gentleman, I mean, he's my friend. He's looking out for his constituents, and I get that. Again, we've been working on these appropriation bills for 6 weeks now. I would ask you to kindly let this bill go on back to the Senate. Let's get this thing done, wrap it up. I would ask you to vote no on the amendment.
Recognize the gentleman to close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I've explained it well enough. I would ask you to vote for the amendment, and let's get this done to try to help the poor areas in our state. Thank you.
Gentleman from Jefferson, he passes. All right. Question recurs to the adoption of Amendment 2. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. Noes have it. Noes have it. Roll call is demanded. There is sufficient number. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the amendment, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote no. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 40 yeas, 76 nays, the amendment fails.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I may go to amendment number 3.
Yes, sir.
Amendment number 3, in the same vein, as a condition of receiving the funds appropriated by this act, the Mississippi Development Authority shall not make any additional grants on the Mississippi Site Development Grant Program until after July 1st, 2025, until eligible entities located in at least 10 of the counties with the highest poverty level in Mississippi as measured by the median household income in the most recent census data have received a grant program. Same vein, same idea. We just want to identify the counties that need it the most.
See no questions. I recognize the gentleman to respond.
Again, I would ask the members to oppose this amendment. It's in good faith, and it has filled with good intentions. But again, we've got this bill just exactly where both the Senate and the House Appropriators reached the agreement on, and I would just ask that you vote no on the amendment.
Gentleman from Holmes, you got a question of the author? You recognize, gentleman.
If he'll yield, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, gentlemen.
Now, gentlemen, you offered a couple of amendments, 3 amendments.
Yeah.
Will your amendment add any additional revenue to this bill?
No, it will not.
And let me understand, what you're simply trying to do is areas in the state, like Holmes County,
Yes.
Humphreys County,
Yes.
Sharkey County,
Yes.
Indianola,
Yes.
Sunflower County.
Yes. Tallahatchie County.
You just simply trying to direct some of the revenue that's been going in other parts of the state to these areas.
Yeah, they may not even get an industry, but they would have the money and have the site developed, so they'll be ready when an opportunity presents itself.
Let's take my industrial park for a minute. We got right there on I-55.
Yes.
Got rail. Highway 12, I-55 actually joined our industrial park. But it's going to cost us about $1 million to put in the electrical and upgrade on our water.
Right.
Which my county is one of those poor counties. If your amendment passed, I might have a chance to lure some industry there in Holmes County.
Yes, and look, for site development, we got more than $100 million. Where could it be better spent better than a place like that?
You might not can answer this, gentleman, but why would, as the gentleman from Washington said, we're as strong as our link is weak, weakest link.
Right.
What's a reason that you would be against an amendment like this?
I don't know, but for the governor to boldly say, if the House or the Senate wanted to do any economic development in that area, they show us with their votes. And I was just giving us an opportunity to show him that we care about those areas.
And gentlemen, you agree this is not a handout, but a hand up?
This is a hand up, because all those people are ready to work. They've worked all their lives for generations, for little of nothing, and sometimes for nothing, but they've worked, and they're ready to work again.
Gentlemen, I think you got a good amendment.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Jefferson, Mr. Harness.
Yes.
If you yield for further questions.
Will.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman yield.
Yes.
Gentlemen, let's just make this be very clear now. Your amendment, it appears that only about 3 areas of the state can receive any help from the state government in terms of economic development. That's what it looks like to me.
It kind of feels that way to me, too.
I've heard that the governor said that's what's wrong with that. That's what I heard. The governor stated.
The governor did, other than the quote I gave, the other quote was, what's wrong with just doing it in
What's wrong with just doing it in Madison? What's
Right.
wrong with just doing it in Golden Triangle on
Right.
the coast? Okay.
Right.
All right, and so would you agree that although the counties in west of 55 desperately need this amendment, but counties east of 55 need it as well? Is that what
They
would
do.
you?
They do.
Huh?
Yes.
And we're talking about other, we do know that majority of the citizens west of 55 are African Americans.
Yeah.
But there are some citizens east of 55 who are not African Americans that
Yes.
can use this amendment. Would you agree, gentlemen?
I would agree.
Would you agree that all Mississippians want a leg up, not just citizens of Madison County?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And so my question is, I guess, why would anyone oppose amendments that is going to help all Mississippians?
I don't know. I thought they were pretty mild and pretty, the kind of amendments that were good for everybody.
Do you have any idea why anyone who lives in Mississippi, marginalized communities are not just black communities?
That's
Would
true.
you agree?
I agree.
Would you agree there are a lot of poor white people in Mississippi?
Absolutely.
Okay, would you agree that they need this help as well?
They do.
Okay. Thank you for your amendment, gentlemen. I think it's a
Thank
great
you.
amendment.
I also like to point out that one of the reasons that this condition exists is that along the river and west of I-55 and north of I-20, most of that is farmland. The interesting thing is a lot of that farmland is not even being farmed. And there was a hearing held by Senator Sparks in the Senate where they had farm people out of the Delta come in and talk. The Delta Council came and testified. And the Delta Council actually said, don't worry about economic development, just make sure you keep our farm subsidies coming. These are the leaders who are supposed to be speaking for the area. That's not helpful. That's not what we need to do. If there's land that's not being used, let's put some manufacturing on it. Let's put some jobs on it. Let's put people back to work. Not ask them to move. Let them stay there and fortify those communities. That's what I would ask.
Gentleman's time has expired on this amendment. Question recurs on the adoption of Amendment 3. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. Noes have it. Noes have it. Roll call is demanded. There is sufficient number. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the amendment, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 40 yeas, 77 nays, the amendment fails. Next amendment, gentlemen.
I got a bunch, but I'm gonna stop at 4, Mr. Speaker, because I appreciate your indulgence. Thank you. Number 4. Now, this is one that I really feel good about. As a condition of receiving the funds appropriated by this act, the Mississippi Development Authority shall award grants to eligible entities under the Mississippi Site Development Grant Program that are located in counties that have been certified as ACT Work Keys, Work-Ready Communities, with the grants being awarded in the order of the dates that those counties received that certification from the earliest date to the latest date. Now, the reason I like this amendment is that Representative Donnie Bell, who does workforce development, who talks about how important it is to have a trained workforce and have promoted programs like this all over the state and has done a very good job of it. And even in areas where they literally barely can afford to make these programs work, in some of these counties, half of the counties that I listed are poor counties that actually have great and have been certified and approved work-key, work-ready communities. But there has not even been a blink of economic development in those counties. And so what all I'm asking is, if you are a ACT work key, work ready community, no matter how poor you are, no matter whether or not you have the matching funds or not, if you have the trained workforce, let's look at those counties first. Let's not keep running to the same areas all the time, and let's create jobs and opportunities in that area. That's all this amendment does.
I recognize the chairman to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your amendments, and they're all, again, good amendments, but I don't think we need to hamstring MDA with dictating where they should and should not. They have their regulations that they follow, the guidelines that they follow for selecting these sites. I would ask you to vote no on the amendment.
I recognize the author to close.
Just briefly, it's $117 million last time I looked. They may have given out some grants since then. But the idea that we don't direct MDA, I'll go back to what the governor says. They operate, and we show what we want to do in economic development based on the votes and the pleasure of the Mississippi State Legislature. And so we can tell them what we want to see them do. We can say, you've done a great job, which they have, a fantastic job, but we want you to stretch out a little bit more and look at these areas and see what you can do there. Just do it. Just try it. Just give us a look. Just do that. And that's all we're asking with these amendments. And I understand it may not be the time, but I'm asking you to do it, but you know you'll see it again. So I would ask you to vote for the amendment.
Gentlemen, you yield for a question?
Yes.
Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman yield.
Yes.
Gentlemen, were you aware that there was a company in Washington County, a little small community called Leland, that had got 14 government contracts and needed $350,000 to get up and going, and he was denied from MDA?
No, I didn't know that.
Did you know that he had good credit, but he borrowed up to his tilt to keep his business going? And did you know he was told by officials at MDA that if he moved his business to Madison County or to the Gulf Coast, he could get $10 million to do so?
No, I didn't know that.
So were you aware that he was going to hire up to 200 employees?
No, I didn't know that.
Were you aware he was going to pay them anywhere from $18 to $25 an hour, but he could not get the money he needed to go forward? Were you aware of that?
Those are the kind of opportunities we'd like to see happen in Washington County. No, I did not know that.
Did you know he had been certified by the United States Department of Defense to provide all kinds of services to the Navy, the Air Force, Marines, all those entities, and he couldn't get the money he needed?
No, I didn't.
So wouldn't a concept like this allow businesses like that to sustain themselves and grow?
It would direct MDA to pay close attention and make sure they help entities like you just described. Yes, it would. Mr. Speaker, I move final passage.
All right. Question recurs on the adoption of Amendment 4. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. Noes have it. The noes have it. Roll call is demanded. There is sufficient number. Open machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the amendment, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 43 yeas, 75 nays, the amendment fails. Anything further on the bill, gentlemen?
Final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 86 yeas, 2 nays, the bill passes.